Well, good morning. Well, it's morning here. I don't know exactly where you live and what time zone you're in, but wherever you are, uh, top of the day. I want to talk about circle of fifths, and there's a lot we can get out of it. Um, I'll post up a picture of one, but I'm sure everybody's pretty familiar with it. But now, how do you use it? That's the big question, right? So it basically sits at 12 o'clock high. Looks like a clock. Okay, looks it possibly looks like a potential clock. At 12 o'clock high, we have C, which is a key that has no sharps and no flats, right? So it's all natural name notes. C to C, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, right? And then if we go clockwise around, then we go around in the order of sharps. So from C, it would go over to G at like 1 o'clock, and that would be the key with one sharp, F sharp. So that would be G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, right? And on and on. So then D would be the next one that has two sharps in it. A would come up next, that's three sharps. E next, four sharps. B, five sharps. F sharp would come along, and that would be the key with uh, six sharps, okay? And there's only one note remaining, which would have been B as a natural note. And another good thing to think about is enharmonically, F sharp could have been G flat, right? So that's a good thing to keep in mind later, because we're actually, when we start getting over on the other side of the clock, we're into flat keys. Not so we're not continuing sharps forever and ever and ever. I mean, I could have gone past F sharp. I could have said, "Oh, there's a C sharp," right? That would be six sharps, and there is such a key, you know. But you won't find that so much. You won't find a key of C sharp with seven sharps. In its place, you would find D flat. So that's why I said, well, F sharp. I want to think of that actually as G flat, which would move me to D flat. And I'm going to start constructing the other way, going counterclockwise. Go back up to 12 o'clock high at C, right? Um, so if I move over, I'm going to start moving in the order of flats. So I'd go from C, I'd move over to where the 11 o'clock position is. It would be F with one flat. Then after F would become B flat with two flats. And then I know some people used to think of the word bead, B-E-A-D, because that brings you through the rest. Okay, so from B with the two flats, you'd go to E with the three flats, to A with the four flats, and then finally there's that D flat with the five flats. So the only two notes that are actually natural is F and C. Very similar to, like, if you start thinking about the key of D, you had two sharps. Those were F and C. So it's kind of cool to see that. So what we end up learning is all our keys, all our key signatures. And if you actually get a really good circle of fifths that actually even includes the related minors, such as C could have A minor, G could have E minor, etc., that's also useful too. Okay. Um, but okay, so that's just identifying keys, right? And we're learning our key signatures pretty well by way of that. But you can use the circle of fifths for playing. It actually works to its best when you utilize it in that fashion. Okay? So the way I always thought of it was, if I go counterclockwise throughout the thing, then I'm going from 5 to a 1. So in other words, C would move to F. If I did C7, you get more idea of that, right? Or if I had done G7, and then over to counterclockwise to the C, right? Right? And there I did G to C. You know, so I mean, you know, the 5 chord doesn't always have to be a dominant 7th, although most times it will be. It's going to be, you know, it's your tension, and then your 1 is your release, right? So it's kind of really cool that way. So if you're ever moving counterclockwise through this whole thing, you know, then if I was doing like C, and then I made it C7, and then I moved to F, and then I made F7, and then moved to B flat, and then make the B flat 7, right? And on and on. So B flat 7 would want to go to the E flat. E flat 7 to the A flat, and on, right? So, so that's a great way of getting your 5 to 1s down, okay? Go counterclockwise. But you know what's really great too? Go the other way. Go clockwise. And then what you're doing is you're going from a 4 to a 1, okay? Such as F to C, right? Or C to G. D, A, E. Oh, look at that. I think Jimi Hendrix was in on this too, because I just played the chord progression to Hey Joe. C, G, D, A, and then he landed on E, but he made it E minor. Yeah, well, what the heck? Why not do E instead, you know? But right? So, anyways, yeah, so it's really cool when you go. And 4 to 1s, they're really a great little trick, because you can use a 4 to a 1 at any time. So if I'm on say I'm on C, and I want to just kind of spruce it up a little bit, make it sound, you know, if I'm on C for a while, so I can always go over and visit that 4 chord. It gives us that amen thing. Amen. Right? So that's the cool thing. You know, 4 to 1s gives you what's called the plagal cadence. And of course, the 5-7 to 1 is our normal, typical thing, right? So, and another cool way to even look at the circle of fifths, if we had D, G, and C, geez, you know, that rings a bell to me. What if I made that D be minor? Oh, 2 minor, 5, 7, 1, right? So D minor 7, G 7, 1. See, so there I am going counterclockwise. If I go three notes, I've got myself all set up. You know, if I did C minor 7 to F7 to B flat, right? So you got all your 2, 5, 1s are sitting right there in that circle of fifths. Circle of fifths, absolutely an amazing little device. Oh, and here's a cool one if you're using the minors, right? So like C, it has a related A minor. It's kind of like a parallel tonic chord, you know? Like we can be major, then we can go sad and go minor, right? And they work really well that way. So A minor, in relation to C, is really a C major 6 chord, right? If I did A minor, and threw C on the bass, I have myself a C major 6 chord. So I can use that A minor as a substitute for C. for both of those chords, I use C major pentatonic. And it fit both, right? Or I could have used A minor pentatonic, been the same thing. I just would have done it in a different order. Instead of doing C, D, E, G, A, I could have done A, C, D, E, G. It would have been all the same notes, just starting from a different root. Now, what if I go visit that E minor that's sitting in the G, the next spot over? So G has a related minor of E minor. C and E minor. Doesn't sound like it would have a lot of relation to itself, but believe it or not, it actually does. Because if I had done something like maybe C major 7, and then did E minor, look at that. Can hardly hear the difference. Right? So there's two different chords right there, C and E minor, and yet they're substitutes for each other. But what's happening is the E minor sounds like I've gone to a C major 7. So I would want to use a major pentatonic built off of the G. See? And that's interesting because I'm using the major pentatonic to the related major to the E minor. And that's what helps define that. Okay. So like I said, there's an awful lot of usage of that circle of fifths. And you know, you look at it and you say, well, okay, so what? It's a whole big bunch of letters and it's a whole big bunch of sharps or a whole big bunch of flats in order. Big deal, right? But it is a big deal. It's one of those things that if you can have all that information stored up in here so that it's all in your subconscious as you're playing, all this information is just like right there to digest, pull out, help, absorb, and create. You know, so it's it, you know. I know when I was young, and it was a mighty long time ago, but when I was young, all the music books that I was reading would, you know, you learn a song and they'd say, okay, now learn it in all 12 keys. And I always was concerned with that. I said, what is that? What's the advantage to me? I just learned the song in its standard key. Now why do I have to go out and learn it in every other key? Well, when I started playing in bands and playing with singers, all of a sudden became very absolute as to why. Because singers don't always sing in the same key as each other. They have different ranges, right? And then when I was playing with horn players, oh boy, I got to transpose. You know, I got B flat instruments, I got E flat instruments. If I'm playing with violas, they got a C clef. That's their own special thing. F clef, C clef. There's an awful lot of clefs and there's an awful lot of transposition. I'm working on, so I got a gig coming up a few days away, and I had to learn like 30 or 40 songs. And they gave me a set list with all the keys that they do them in. And most of the time they were right on the standard key. So I could just look up the tune, learn it off of YouTube. But there was a few that I popped into and I says, hey, wait a minute, the original wasn't in this key. It was in this. So that's one of those where I have to think about, yeah, you know, I bet you that singer wants it in that key because it's going to fit them best. So another great reason to learn the circle of fifths. Learn all your keys. Play in all keys. There's I think it was Joe Pass that said guitar players play in E way too much and it gets boring. Use other keys, you know, and you know, he's kind of right, you know. Like I know myself, you know, being a pianist, C is a beauty, you know. Everybody jumps on key of C. And you pick up any piano first book one, and you're going to be in C for quite a while before they finally throw you in A minor, and then they might introduce G, and eventually F. So they're slowly but surely bringing in the other keys. But it's really sometimes moving something to another key. I found on guitar, there might be a song that I love on piano, and when I go to move it to guitar, I really have to change it to a guitar key. Guitar keys are keys of the names of open strings, so that's why E is so popular. We got two open E's. We get A, so I have an awful lot of guitar music is in A, D, another one G, right? So it's all these open string names, and you will bump into B, not as much, but it's there, and the open strings become an avenue to help you to be able to make position shifts, right? So you can have an open string, and while you're playing that, you're moving to another position. There's a lot of things going on, as far as position changing, knowing your ranges, figuring out your fretboard layout. So, anyways, yeah. So I guess the big topic of the day is circle of fifths. Learn all your keys. Work with the circle of fifths. Move around on it and stuff, and you'll see it really will help improve your playing. So I hope that helps you. Like they all say, subscribe if you're really enjoying what you're seeing here. I try to make it as educational and helpful as possible. And if you want to see anytime I'm putting something up, then ring the old bell there, and that will notify you anytime I put something up. And another thing I want to say is, I do actually do lessons, and I have a website called Music Lessons Delivered. And if you're in the greater South Shore area, I go home to home. I will bring the lesson right to your home. And if that's not capable, then I also actually offer Zoom lessons, and I've had great success with it. In fact, I'm doing one this afternoon. A boy's up in New Hampshire, and so he's quite a few hours away from me. I know because I've done gigs up where he's at, and so Zoom lessons are available, and they've done a lot with it. So they've done a lot from musician wise. So they've actually got a way now that you can play together. So I can, it's not so much the old video conference call. If somebody talks, everybody else gets muted. And, Zoom you can do that way if you want, but for musicians, they do have a musician's mode. So you can play simultaneous. And I do have a very good camera setup, and I do have a lot of share screens, so I can share all sorts of things with you. Musical examples, sheet music, everything. So, and it can be global, so it's a great way for me to actually branch out and move my music lessons out to the entire world, wherever Zoom is Zoomable. So zoom in, or zoom. So, well, we'll resume this another day. Thanks for watching.